For most of my life, I've lived with an enemy. One that criticizes me and puts me down. And when I start to feel good, make sure I get pushed down to a comfortable, not so good place. And when I make a mistake, make sure that I feel like I am that mistake. I'm talking about my own mind. I'm talking about that self-critic that lives with us in our consciousness. Now, it is kind of mind-boggling to think that there are separate parts of the mind. What? That they can conflict and they can run into each other and have a battle and there's friction and tension and they're knotted together. But it's also fascinating to think that those distinctions and boundaries are completely imaginary. They don't exist, not really. We project them and create them in our own minds. Now, one of the reasons they feel so real, though, is because we haven't been taught alternatives. But here's an idea for you. An alternative would be self-love, radical self-acceptance. People used to tell me, Paul, you're too hard on yourself. Paul, you don't need to beat yourself up so much. Paul, you're so critical of yourself. Paul, you're your worst critic, aren't you? And in my head, I was like, well, yeah. I mean, if I don't do that, then who's going to keep me on track, huh? If I don't criticize myself and put myself down when I make a mistake, how am I ever going to get shit done? And whereas that is one approach to getting shit done, it's also important to realize that that is very dysfunctional. And it's coming from an egoic, controlling place. For example, a few years ago, I decided to quit porn and masturbation. This was a big deal for me. It was something I was addicted to. And I failed hundreds of times. And when I started, I came from a place of very deep and profound self-rejection and hatred. I hated myself. I hated where I was. I hated what I was doing. I hated what I was watching. I hated what I was getting myself into. And I hated where my mind was going. And I hated how I was looking at girls and that whole situation. And when I relapsed, I made sure that I made myself feel bad for it and made myself feel like I was a mistake and beat myself up for it and put myself down. And well, with many addictions like this one of the reasons we're addicted is to escape from the uncomfortable feelings. And so when I guilted myself and shamed myself, well, that just made me want to do it even more. So that didn't work out very well. Everything changed 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I took a 6-day solo retreat in the woods with no phone, no electronics, completely alone, journaling, meditating, bored. Bored out of my mind, in a good way. Because what happened is I was forced to face myself, to face the demons I've been running away from in my own mind, to face and see all those disowned parts of myself, at least as many as I could stomach. And what happened is my sense of self expanded to include all of those parts that I could see that I disowned. Not only did I realize, wow, I could be so much more, I also realized, Paul, this is me talking to myself, Paul, I love you, all of you, regardless of what you do, say, or even the thoughts you have, because you exist. I love you because you are. That may not make sense, but if you're coming from that place and you're feeling that, it's very profound. Self-love. Here's a technical definition of self-love for you. Self-love is an expansion of self and a state of love for that expanded sense of self. Now, I'm not perfect, and it hasn't been a smooth journey since then. But I realize now that when I make a mistake or when I relapse or whatever happens, I am not a mistake. There's not something wrong with me. And I'm just as worthy after I make that mistake as I was before. I'm just as lovable before I do something bad and after. Or like bad, quote unquote bad. And to live with a mind that loves unconditionally is a blessing. And it's really powerful. Think of what you could accomplish if yourself was completely on board with what you really wanted. I challenge you to be honest with yourself at your state of self-love. How loving of yourself are you actually? And if you tell yourself, oh yeah, I love myself completely, you're bullshitting yourself. You know how? I know that. I want you to write a list of every way that you don't love yourself. It can be small things. I don't like my hair. I don't like my eyes. I don't like my eyebrows. I don't like the hair on my toes. I don't like how small my dick is. I don't like how big my boobs are. I don't like how people talk to me. I don't like how I talk to people. I don't like my personality. Whatever. Fill that list. And then if you can stomach it, choose to love every single thing on that list. And if that's too much for you to stomach, do this for me. I want you to find a recent mistake you feel like you made and write down and think about your response to that mistake. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to force yourself to be different. I just want you to be aware of how you responded to that situation. That's going to be the first step for you. Awareness of what is going on means that you can change what is going on. You can't do anything unless you're aware of it. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Click that like button for me if you would, and go ahead and give me a comment. Let me know what you think of this. Give me some feedback. I want to hear what you have to say about this topic. Go ahead and share it with a friend if you feel like this would help them out. And until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day.